I've pushed myself to the edge of my limits and beyond. But you've been born with a natural talent far beyond my own. No amount of training could have closed the gap between us. I realize that now. It was made painfully obvious to me today as I watched you fight with Babidi's monster. Imagine my shock to see the undeniable proof, to discover that no matter how hard I tried, I would never be able to catch you, a warrior prince forever living in the shadow of a low-level clown. So that's when I secretly made up my mind. I saw the power of Babidi's magic, and I knew that what it had done for those fighters, it could also do for me. I knew that if I allowed myself to fall under his control, the difference in our power would disappear. I'm quite pleased with the results, even if they do come at a price. I'd say the end more than justifies the means, because I wanted him to reawaken the evil in my heart. I wanted him to return me to the way I was before. I was the perfect warrior, cold and ruthless. I lived by my strength alone, uninhibited by foolish emotion. But slowly, over the years, I became one of you. My quest for greatness gradually giving way to this life of mediocrity. I awoke one day to find that I had settled down, formed a family. I had even grown quite fond of them. Would you believe I had started to think the earth was a nice place to live? Do you understand now, Kakarot? That's why I needed Babidi to set me free by releasing this evil in my heart. He has freed me of these petty attachments. And I have to say, it feels pretty good. Pirates are evil. The Marines are righteous. These terms have always changed throughout the course of history. Kids who have never seen peace and kids who have never seen war have different values. Those who stand at the top determine what's wrong and what's right. This very place is neutral ground. Justice will prevail, you say? Well, but of course it will. Whoever wins the war becomes justice. It's all meaningless. No matter what dreams or hopes you had, no matter how blessed a life you've lived, it's all the same if you're shattered by rocks. Everyone will die someday. Does that mean life is meaningless? Was there ever even any meaning in our being born? Or what would you say to our fallen comrades? Their lives, were they meaningless? No, they were not! It's us who gives meaning to our comrades' lives! The brave fallen! The anguished fallen! The ones who will remember them are us! The living! We die trusting the living who follow to find meaning in our lives. That is the sole method in which we can rebel against this cruel world. My soldiers rage! My soldiers scream! My soldiers fight! Suppose that you are sitting down at this table. The napkins are in front of you. Which napkin would you take? The one on your left or the one on your right? The one on your left side or the one on your right side? Well, usually you would take the one on your left side. That is correct, too. But in a larger sense, in society, that is wrong. Or perhaps I could even substitute society with the universe. The correct answer is that it is determined by the one who takes his or her own napkin first, yes? If the first one takes the napkin to their right, then there's no choice but for others to also take the right napkin. The same goes for the left. Everyone else will take the napkin to their left because They have no other option. This is society. Well, who are the ones that determine the price of land first? There must have been someone who determined the value of money first. The size of the rails on a train track, the magnitude of electricity, laws and regulations. Who was the first to determine these things? Or did we all do it because this is a republic? Or was it arbitrary? No. The one who took the napkin first determined all of these things. The rules of this world are determined by that same principle of right and left. In a society like this table, a state of equilibrium, once one makes the first move, everyone must follow. In every era, this world has been operating by this napkin principle, and the one who takes the napkin first must be someone who is respected by all. It's not that anyone can fulfill this role. Those that are despotic or unworthy will be scorned, and those are the losers. In the case of this table, the eldest or the master of the party will take the napkin first, because everyone respects those individuals. When do you think people die? When they are shot through the heart by the bullet of a pistol? No. When they are ravaged by an incurable disease? No. When they drink a soup made from a poisonous mushroom? No. It's when they are forgotten. You ask me why I'm doing all this. But even if I told you why, I doubt very strongly that the knowledge would change anything at all. But let's say that I take the time to explain it to you. What do you think will happen then? My goal is to fulfill the dream even Jiraiya Sensei was unable to achieve. As I said earlier, what I want is to create peace and bring about justice. Tell me, what is your goal? To kill me? Oh, I see. That is noble of you. That would be justice. However, what about my family? My friends? My village? They suffered the same fate as this village at the hands of you hidden leaf ninja. How is it fair to let only you people preach about peace and justice? You and I are both seeking the very same thing. We both want to achieve the peace that Jiraiya Sensei envisioned. You and I are the same. We're both motivated by our desire for peace and justice. The justice that I've delivered against the Leaf Village is no different from that you are trying to do to me. Everyone feels the same pain of losing something dear. You and I have both experienced that pain. You strive for your justice, and I strive for mine. We're both just ordinary men who've been driven to seek vengeance in the name of justice. And if one comes to call vengeance justice, such justice will only breed further vengeance and trigger a vicious cycle of hatred. Right now, we live in such a cycle. I know the past and can foretell our future. It's the same as our history. So we believe that human beings cannot simply understand each other, and they never will. The shinobi world of ours is ruled by hatred, and hatred alone. So, Naruto, How would you confront this hatred in order to bring peace? I want to know what your answer is. Some of you have come to believe that I like war. I wish to dash these rumors. I do not like war. I love war. Through my life, I've discovered so many forms of war. You get up in the morning, you get into your shitty car, and you see a rich CEO who works half as hard as you do drive down this street in his Porsche. Class war. You make it to work, and you find out that the annual drug test is today, and you just so happen to take a puff of your one-hitter a couple of nights ago before dinner with your wife's awful parents. Drug war. But then, you find out that the only ones being called in for testing are your black and Hispanic co-workers. Race war. Then, you try and post about it on your Facebook, but then all your friends start arguing about what's right and what's wrong. Flame war. You finally get home, and you decide to relax by watching a program about who gets the box. What's in the box? How much is what's in the box worth? Storage wars. What I am telling you, my Nazi army of 1,000 vampires, is that I am a purveyor of war. And with your help over the years, we are now at the precipice of our true goal. You see, I want a simple war. No class wars, no drug wars, no race wars, no flame wars, and certainly no cold wars. Blueboard for 40 years. What I want is a war that only we can bring. A true war. A German war. The sequel you've all been waiting for! I want World War III! I refuse to believe this. It's not possible for Kakarot's power level to exceed my own. I belong to the upper echelon of the most elite warrior class the universe has ever seen. I will not be bested! Certainly not by some low-born amateur like you. I am the greatest warrior who has ever lived. On that day I committed my life to surpassing you, having no idea about how far you would go. According to the old legends, it's been over 1,000 years since one appeared. Super Saiyan. A warrior able to break free of his normal limitations to achieve an unprecedented level of power. But those were just old stories. I never believed them. And even if they are true, only an elite warrior like myself would have the potential to ascend those heights, not some fool like Kakarot. There's no question that he has surpassed the normal limitations of a Saiyan warrior, but how? With some sort of special training? Could the legend really be true? Has Kakarot become a Super Saiyan? Then, at last, it happened. Fueled by my own self-loathing, I too transformed, after living every moment of every day for the singular purpose of reigning over you. I finally became a Super Saiyan myself. The prince had reclaimed his throne and fulfilled his destiny. But no matter how strong I became, your power still exceeded mine. At first I thought it was your loved ones, that it was your instinct to protect them that spurred you on and pushed you beyond your limits, and that was certainly part of it. I've seen enough of that clown smile to know how much they mean to you. But over the years, I realized that there was more. I made a family of my own, and it still wasn't the key. It's something else in the way you approach a battle. I used to fight for the sheer pleasure of it, sparing no one. I killed for dominance and to feed my insatiable pride. But you never fought to kill or even to win, only to test your limits and become the strongest you could possibly be. You showed mercy to everyone, even your fiercest enemies, even me, as if you knew I would one day possess this tiny sliver of a soul. How can a Saiyan fight with such power and at the same time be so gentle? It makes me angry just thinking about it! But perhaps it's my anger that's made me blind to the truth for so long. I see it now. I fought to push down others. You only fight to push yourself. Hang in there, Kakarot. You are number one. Wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world. The longer you live, the more you realize that the only things that truly exist in this reality are merely pain and suffering and futility. Listen. Everywhere you look in this world, wherever there is light, there will always be shadows to be found as well. As long as there is a concept of victors, the vanquished will also exist. The selfish intent of wanting to preserve peace initiates wars, and hatred is born in order to protect love. There are nexuses, causal relationships that cannot be separated. I want to sever the fate of this world. A world of only victors. A world of only peace. A world of only love. I will create such a world. Ichigo, do you know how I hate the rain? And it rains in this world too. If your heart is troubled, the skies will become cloudy. If you grieve, it will rain ever so easily. I wonder if you can understand the fear of being rained on in this lonely world. To stop that rain, I shall lend you any strength, any power. If you just have faith in me, I will not allow any rain to fall upon this world. Trust me, Ichigo. As long as I'm here, you'll never fight alone. All you're doing is running your mouth. Do you even listen to yourself? Well, just now you called it incomplete, which implies he hasn't fully mastered it yet. And if you're stupid enough to ignore the obvious implications of that, then I don't know where you even get off calling yourself a god. Oh, I'm a fool. You bet your life on that. 48 minutes. That's all we were given for this tournament of power. Yet in that brief time span, we Saiyan warriors have shattered our limits, time after time. You've seen it with your own eyes, Destroyer. Come on, Kakarot, find a way. I entrusted everything to you. My pride, my promise, everything. I won't tolerate failure. Trespass in the domain of the gods, and use that might to conquer Kirin! Do it, Kakarot! It's not you, Teach. The man that Roger was waiting for? It's not you. Not a damn chance. Just as there are people out there who inherited Roger's will, soon enough, someone will carry on in Ace's name as well. You may try to destroy their spirit, but you will never extinguish their flame. So it has been. So it will continue to be from now until the very end of time. And one day, in the future, when we're all dead and gone, someone will rise carrying generations upon generations of our history onto his shoulders, and he'll throw down the gauntlet in front of the entire world. Sengoku. Oh, you and the government know what's coming. A war that will embroil the seas far and wide. That's why you're so afraid. Though, nothing you do will stop it. I've no interest in it myself. But someday, that treasure will turn this world upside down. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm sure that someone will find it. Whether you like it or not. That day will come soon. The One Piece. The One Piece is real! Forgive me, my sons. I raised a fool. And I couldn't take responsibility. But you boys gave me everything I could have ever wanted out of life. I've reached the end of my voyage. It's been a long and fulfilling journey. Let's sail out. I couldn't have asked for more. You're so persistent. And I'm getting sick and tired of you all, and I'm losing my patience. You're always yapping about avenging your parents or your children or your siblings. Isn't it enough that you're still alive? So what if I killed your loved ones? Consider yourselves lucky and carry on with your lives. Think of it as if they simply met with disaster. There's no need to make it more complicated than that. Rain, wind, volcanoes, earthquakes, no matter how many people they kill, no one seeks revenge against them. Besides, the dead will not return to life, so give up your grudge. Just make a living and pursue a quiet life. That's what most people do. So why not you? Oh, there's only one reason. Because demon slayers are abnormal, and I'm tired of dealing with you. I just want this to end.
You're foolishly honest, Straw Hat Luffy. I guess everyone wants to help you. What kind of person are you, really? What color is your hair? What is the shape of your eyes? What do you look like? I wish I hadn't blinded myself. I want to see your face. I bet you look kind.
What do you think happens to monsters once they've lost their source of food and are off their leashes? Is there anyone who rules these seas who can rein them in? Who possesses the most power, the most influence in these waters? One of the 4 emperors, perhaps? Or the 7 warlords who struck a clever deal? Maybe the brats from the worst generation running wild. Not quite. After all, we can't ignore the Navy swinging around their hammer of justice, or the formidable fighters of the Revolutionary Army who struggle fearlessly for the common man. Or will it be those with the will of D who walk in the shadows of history? When and where will they decide to show themselves? Who's going to side with who
Who will betray who? I have a message for you to give to the celestial dragons. Tell them they will be dragged from their gilded halls. It's been 25 years since Gold Roger conquered the Grand Line, and no one's done it since. His rival Whitebeard stood before the throne, but met his end, having never sat upon it. So what happens now, do you think? There are more pirates running wild out there than ever before. But there's just one empty seat. You get it now. All those pirates are about to have a struggle for supremacy. The greatest in history.
I must admit, it never ceases to amaze me how brainless you can be. Well, you've lost your weapon. Why are you still standing there? Ichigo, what's the difference between a king and his horse? I'm not talking about obvious stuff like one's an animal and one's a person, or one has 2 legs and one has 4. Form, ability, and power. That's what's puzzling. If their form, ability, and power are exactly the same, then why does one become king and lead them into battle, while the other becomes the horse and carries the king? What's the characteristic that distinguishes these two beings? Well, there's only one answer. Instinct. In order for identical beings to get stronger and gain power, they need to develop a killer instinct, and that instinct is mostly forged in battle. They must develop an insatiable hunger to engage in battle. They must live to mercilessly crush, shred, and slice their enemies. This thirst for power is not an unnatural desire. In fact, it forms the very essence of our being. Deep within our body lies the honed instinct to dominate and slaughter our enemies. My friend, you don't have that. You use your brain to try and win a fight. You attempt to defeat your enemies with reason and logic. You don't tap into these pure, base instincts that exist within your core, waiting to be released. And the simple matter is, it doesn't work. You're weak, Ichigo. And I won't put up with that. Am I clear? I don't know about Zangetsu, but I refuse to play horse to a king that's weaker than me. Someone whose uncertainty and hesitation will end up getting us both cut to pieces! If you aren't willing to assert your strength and retain the crown, then I'll destroy you. Which means I'll be king. What's the matter? Not winning as easily as you thought? Or you won't be winning at all. What? Clown? You feeling angry, humiliated, is that it? Fool! You don't know what humiliation is. But don't worry. I will teach you a better taste. Just as you taught me. Me, a warrior elite. In my fingertips, I hold the power to destroy entire worlds. I am a Saiyan of royal blood, the last of my kind, and on my shoulders rests the glory of an extinct warrior race. Whole civilizations once trembled at the sound of my name, but you didn't, did you, Kakarot? And at your hands, your common hands, my honor and my pride, the foundations on which I always stood, began to crumble at my feet. It was at your hands that I suffered my first great humiliation, toppled by a piece of low-level trash! It's time to take back what is mine. I will not live my life as your second. That time is over. Every breath you take is an assault to my honor, but no more, Kakarot. By my hands, you will be cut down
inch by inch. Just the way you've cut down my pride.
Yeah, I know my face is pretty disgusting now. But it's still surprising my own family didn't recognize me. Or it's honestly kind of crappy. Or maybe it's just depressing, you know. I didn't forget our family. I've been watching you from the shadows this entire time. You know, out of everyone in the world, you should be beyond reproach, number one. And so a pre-recorded video of my life story is currently streaming on every device in the country. Oh man. I didn't expect this. Well, I'm starting to have fun. I wondered how I could make you suffer. How I could ruin your life. Why, ever since I burned up, that's all I've thought about. As a kid, I didn't know why I existed. I'd cling to Natsu, bawling my eyes out, but, well, you knew that, didn't you? At first, when I realized your little puppet Shoto was complete, I figured I'd kill him. But then you unexpectedly became the #1 hero. Who would have guessed it, huh? I was suddenly so invested in your happiness. Well, can you believe in Kushu? I was actually afraid you were going to die. I led Star Servant and ending to your doorstep. Did they make you feel like a big shot? It must have been a heavy burden to achieve your dream after so long. You were smothered by public admiration, weren't you? Is that why you finally decided to try and bond with your children? Just keep looking towards the future and you could be the better man? What? Oh, nothing to say. Well, allow me. The past never dies. You will reap everything you've sown, Enji Todoroki. Let's fall together. Come and dance with me in hell, will you? Well, speak up, Dad. You act like you are the only one suffering. And I believe that Trunks has some stories for you, and I can assume they all end with, and then he died too. And before you start whining about your father again, and I get it, take a moment to consider that my father made me a soulless killing machine to kill your father, and that doesn't even come close to the complete tragedy of fatherhood that is Vegeta. Cell was right. You think you're better than everyone else. But there you stand, the good man, doing nothing. And while evil triumphs and your rigid pacifism crumbles into blood-stained dust, the only victory afforded to you is that you stuck true to your guns. You are a coward to your last whimper. Of fear and love, I fear not that I will die, but that all I have come to love, or the birds and the things that are not birds, will perish with me. So please go ahead. Stop holding back, and hey, if we do make it out of this, please pick up my head and beat your father to death with it. You want to know what your big mistake was, Black? It's that stolen body. Every muscle, every cell. This body was built from a lifetime of intense battles, but you took it! It's all second-hand. You feel the power in those Saiyan cells, but you don't truly understand it because you didn't build it! And you'll never learn to think like that, clown! Well, how can there be such a huge power gap between us? Oh, that's simple. You're an interloper, a Saiyan imposter.
And I am the real thing, the almighty Prince Vegeta! A king without greed is even worse than a figurehead! Saber! You said you would martyr yourself for your ideals. Oh, in life, you must have been a pure saint. A proud and noble figure, certainly. But who can truly admire the martyr's thorny path? Who dreams of such an ending? A king. A king must be greedier than any other. He must laugh more loudly and rage for longer. He must exemplify the extremes of all things, good and evil. That is why his retainers envy and adore him, and why the flames of aspiration to be as the king is can burn within his people. Oh, proud king of chivalry, the righteousness and ideals you bore may indeed have saved your nation once. However, I'm certain you know what became of those who were saved but left to themselves. Well, you saved them, but you never led them. You never showed them what a king should be. You abandoned your men when they lost their way, then, alone and untroubled, you followed your own petty little ideals. Thus, you are no true king. You are only a little girl, enraptured by a false idol of a king who serves others, but not themselves. The perfect being, you said. Well, I have to tell you the honest truth as I see it. In this world, nothing perfect exists. It may be a cliché after all, but it's the way things are. It's precisely why ordinary men pursue the concept of perfection. It's infatuation. But ultimately, I have to ask myself, what is the true meaning of being perfect? And the answer I came up with was nothing. Not one thing. The truth of the matter is, I despise perfection. If something is truly perfect, that's it. The bottom line becomes, there is no room for imagination, no space for intelligence or ability or improvement. Do you understand? To men of science like us, perfection is a dead end, a condition of hopelessness. Well, always strive to be better than anything that came before you, but not perfect. Well, scientists agonize over the attempt to achieve perfection. Well, that's the kind of creatures we are. We take joy in trying to exceed our grasp and trying to reach out for something that, in the end, we have to admit, may in fact be unreachable. In other words, you may think that we operate on the same level, but you're wrong. The moment you talked about perfection, you embraced an impossible concept and already lost to me. That is, of course, if you are indeed a scientist at all.
Listen. You need to take good care of your mother. I want you two to leave and get far away from here. Well, as for Boo, I'll fight him alone. It's too dangerous for you two. I will finish this myself. Trunks. You're my only son, and yet I haven't held you once since you were a baby. Have I? Come here, son. There's something that you must know. You've made me proud, my son. Take the two boys far away from here as possible. Go now. time. There is one thing I'd like to know. Tell me, will I meet that clown, Kakarot, in the other world? Oh well. So be it. Your fight is with me. The others are of no concern to you. Got it? You big, bloated balloon freak. You are a fool. I'm going to crush you and throw you to the wind. Trunks. Bulma. I do this for you. And even for you too, Kakarot.